We're going to go ahead and get started. I don't want to hold up anyone's time. We want to get started. Hey,
Hey sis, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, I'm walking through the house trying to get a real good spot for this
I
reception.
I had to I had to test mine out all day today just to make sure. I had to find
How
the
you
right
doing?
spot to set up.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, let me see. Okay, better now. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me better? Can you still
I
hear
hear
me
you
clear?
fine on my end.
Okay, great. So, hi everyone. I can't believe this is your first live, and this is
This
my
is
first live with someone else. I went live sickle cell day, but I was
right.
only on there briefly and I didn't understand it. So we're learning together. This is good. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This
this
is
is
new for
good.
me too. Yes.
Yes, and we're hoping for many more lives, but we wanted to come on here and talk about relationships. I think I put up a post, it was a while ago, stating that I think it says something to the effect of being married and being single, taking care of a kid or something, and that just opened up like all kinds of conversation. And I really wanted to have this conversation, which I feel like is important because there's already issues and stuff that goes on when you're dating, but when you're dating with a chronic illness, that's a different ballpark. And I
Yeah.
wanted to do this to kind of, give people an opportunity to kind of hear our side as to what we're thinking because a lot of times I notice that people either shy away from dating someone with a chronic illness or they feel like we're going to be a burden or a liability. So it's so many things that I hear. Some people are okay with it, but I think it's important to kind of hear our side as to how we're feeling when we're stepping out there in dating or marriage or relationship or whatever the case is. So I had a few questions that I did send to you, which if you at any time, if anybody that's listening also has any question, you can always send them in. We'll try to get to them. But I had a few questions that I sent to you, but I also kind of wanted you to start off by saying a statement or something that you feel about this conversation that we're getting ready to have.
Oh, wow. Well, I appreciate it, Symbol. First and foremost, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity and sharing your platform with me.
Yeah.
Uh, we've been following each other for a few years now, actually, on IG.
Yes.
And
Yes, my
so,
first follow,
I
by the
honestly,
way.
oh, for real? Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy. I'm happy.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where if this were to happen a few years ago, it probably wouldn't be as epic as I believe it's going to be right now.
Yeah.
Because there's been a lot of growth, a lot of hills, a lot of valleys, to get here. So I'm just excited. Um, I'll just give a quick little rundown. I'm Francois Laporte Jr. I am a full-time advocate for chronic pain and for sickle cell disease. I'm also a sickle cell warrior, um, and I have rheumatoid arthritis as well, cervical spondylosis, chronic pulmonary embolism disorder. So I'm battling sickle cell and a lot of other obstacles. And this conversation is so important to me because my wife she really feels like she's more qualified than me right now. And she's in the other room,
Yes.
and I know her fingers are itching right now because she has a lot to say. Because
Well,
really, the
you
ones that we
tell
live with.
her. Yeah, and
Hmm.
as I told you, I want to keep this
Yeah.
conversation going. I actually have a part two and a part three coming. So part
All
two,
right.
your wife is going to be on, and it's going to be
Oh Lord.
someone on the other side. Both your
Oh.
wife and my sister-in-law are going to be
All
coming
right.
on to discuss, being married to someone that has a
Yeah.
chronic illness. And then the third one will be someone that, doesn't have any chronic illness, that hasn't dated anyone with a chronic
Ooh.
illness, and just kind of see their perspective on,
Right. Right.
if they ever met someone with a chronic illness, what are you thinking? What are your thoughts? Where would you want to
Yeah.
go from there? So I just,
Ooh. That's gonna be good. That's going to be
Yeah, so
good.
I'm looking forward to the three part because as I said, I think it's very important. A lot of times we just go on and we date and and then thinking about children that are coming behind me and listening to them talking about dating, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, if I only knew this, like I would do things
Right.
completely different. So I feel like this is important to have. And I am going to go ahead and jump right in. We're going to get right into the
Come on now.
conversation.
I'm
So
ready. I'm ready.
you did, yes. So you did tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do. Now, my first conversation or question that I really want to talk about is friendship. When a lot of people think about relationships, they just think about, your spouse or your boyfriend or your girlfriend. But really, your relationships are also your friendship. How do you handle your relationship with friends and, as in informing them of the disease or how you
Mm.
are, and then at times when they invite you to places and you're unable to go or you always canceling or whatever the case is, like how do you handle, think about your friends that you still have that you've had a long
Right.
time. What were some of the things that you did to make that relationship successful, and what were some of the things that they also did on their end to kind of help you out?
Okay, that's a very good question. For me, growing up, it was really difficult because I just wanted to be normal. I wanted to be able to go outside and play like all the other kids. I wanted to play sports. I just wanted to be treated without the white gloves on. And my parents were so strict because they knew what came with this disease. And so in the beginning, it was more not sharing. And so when I would get sick, it would just be like, hey, I'm sick, and it wasn't honest. As I got older, as I got more comfortable with me, I realized, like, listen, this is a real disease. It's not going anywhere. And I need to be sure that the people in my life understand it. We were talking the other day, and I know sometimes for me, the biggest battle is just being able to get out of bed. Just being able to roll out of the bed, what people take for granted, it's a big deal for a lot of warriors. And so the sooner you let people know not to be victims, not for attention, but to actually own it and say, hey, listen, I'm a sickle cell warrior. There's some days where my biggest battle might not be your event. My biggest battle might be just managing the everyday pain that I have to live with. And so in doing that and being more comfortable, once I got comfortable, everyone around me got comfortable. They began to accept me and accept the disease for what it is. And I started to learn how to advocate from there. And so everybody is an advocator. And whether you know it or not, all of us are advocating for something. And so it's best that you be clear on what you're advocating for. And so, yes, I advocate for me. I advocate for my feelings. I advocate for my family. I advocate for my friends. It's not just about sickle cell and chronic pain. I'm an advocate for real, like all of us are. But I just choose to be in the forefront and go for it.
And you know what? And you hit on a very, very important point, which is you have to be comfortable with yourself. I can tell you that probably about 90% of, sickle cell patients that I've talked to have been ashamed to talk about it until they got to
Oh,
the
yeah.
point where they're comfortable with themselves. But as you said, once you get there, everybody else around you become comfortable. So you're saying that, and I'm saying that to make people feel as in we have got to stop hiding it, because educating
Yeah.
is going to be what's going to save us in the stigma
Yeah.
and all the things that we deal with. Is educating. We have to educate people and let them know that we are just normal people that happen to,
Right.
deal with
Right.
chronic pain and, other issues and end up in the hospital. So I think you
Yeah.
hit a very, very important point there, which I think is great. Um, for me, I have probably had the same friends that I've had for a long time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it actually didn't go that way. It was just that, I would always want to be like you, so normal that I would be in the clubs and, just doing everything. Like I would be in pain and just struggling that, no, we're going out tonight. And, yeah, like I would be like, trying hard. And one day we actually went out and we came back home and they had to rush me to the hospital. I got into a full
Wow.
blown bad crisis. And, being in college, they tell your friends, they bring you to the hospital, and the doctors tell them, oh, she's just having a sickle cell crisis. You need to call her parents and da 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 da. And they're like, sickle cell? Like, you don't look like you have like the
Right.
stereotype.
Right.
You don't look like
Right.
you have it. You're always healthy.
Yeah.
What's going on? So we had to sit down and talk about it and educate about it. And since then, not only have they been a great support system, they've been a great advocate. Like I can call them if I'm in the hospital and say, look,
Wow.
I don't feel right. The nurse is not, and they'll be there and, all right, nurse, this is what you need to do. She doesn't take this. You give her this. That. So, and I
Right.
think it's important that we have those conversations. I mean, we try to hide it for so long, but who we punishing?
Yeah.
Ourselves,
It's funny. It's funny because I consider him a big brother and a mentor. He's also my doctor. Dr. Rashawn Hodge is on here, and he was somebody a couple of years ago that was such an inspiration. The way he advocates for people with pain, and he broke his neck several years ago. His story: he broke his neck several years ago, and being a medical doctor, he just wanted relief and was trying to find relief. And I thought about it, and I was like, how can someone like me be silent? And I can't afford to be silent. For so many of us with sickle cell and different illnesses, we choose to be silent because of the stigma. We choose to be silent because of the judgment, the perceived judgment. When in reality, listen, people are going to judge anyway. People are going to feel how they feel anyway. So what you think and what you feel is none of my business. So advocacy in every sense of the word is what it's about. And so when we advocate for ourselves, we empower others to accept us, embrace us, and advocate on our behalf as well. So, yeah,
exactly.
I definitely love that question. I love that question.
Exactly. Very good. Okay. So we're going to get into the dating. So thinking about thinking about your past relationship and when you were in the dating scene, because you've been married for a long time now. But thinking about when you were
10
looking
years.
for that. Yes. That's a long time. I'm only 2 years in, so 10.
Oh, come on now.
Whew, that's way out.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to my 10 years, but my brother and myself were actually talking the other day, and hence one of the reasons why I wanted to do this. A lot of times people with chronic illness feel like they would never be married or have kids or whatever the case is, or they'll never be able to have that white picket fence in that life, or even if they do get married, they're going to become a burden. Their husband or wife is going to leave them. It's going to be a problem, but my brother has been married a long time. I want to say 6 to 10 years, one of those.
Right.
And as well as you've been married for 10 years, and it's got to be it's not that you're you have a playbook to it or that you're doing anything different. It's just you make it work. So thinking about when you were dating and your past relationships, what were some of the challenges that you felt like you faced, and and how did you deal with them?
Yeah. Okay. Well, for me, it was by the time I got to that point where I was dating and I was getting involved and getting serious, for me, I was able to just look at everything that I went through as a sickle cell warrior. My baby sister, Marsha, who we lost her in 2016 from sickle cell and complications, and she was also married, and she was actually married before me, and they said she probably would never have kids because of the sickle cell.
Yeah.
And so she went along and had two. two precious babies who are actually, I'm surprised you guys don't hear them. They're in the back making noise
In the
right
back.
now. And, yeah. And so one of the things for her and for me that we had to do is we had to be completely honest. Being rejected was, I didn't ever look at it as being rejected. I actually always put things on the table and gave whoever I'm talking to or dating the opportunity to decide, because this is a heavy cross that we have to bear. And if we're going to be together, then in actuality, we're co-laborers. Be it dating and be it marriage. Because if you're not helping me carry the load or supporting in the dating, we won't even get to the marriage. So it's a matter of allowing someone to decide for themselves, because really it's a choice. You don't necessarily have to be with somebody with chronic illness if you don't want to. So the sooner I can weed those people out, the sooner I can get to that person that I know that's going to care and love me the way I deserve. And so once I realize the relationship is getting serious, I start talking. Sometimes I'll even bring it up. I'll bring it up on the first date. I let you know I have sickle cell disease, and do you know if you do? And I pretty much ask every woman that I've ever dated, I've always asked that question, because I want to make sure that I know, because I want to also be able to make a decision on, do I want to take a chance and have kids so they can endure what I've had to endure? And that was a tough thing, because my parents didn't know. You know, they didn't know. They're coming from the islands. You in love, get together, you have kids. You know, and there were 6 of us. You know, and it skipped the first 4. And me and my sister ended up with the disease. Yeah, so it was everybody else has betrayed. So that's important to me. When I'm dating, I just want you to know. When I was dating, I want you to know. My wife, I asked her, did she know? And that was one of the things that she voluntarily did. Once we got serious, I mean, she got a blood test. She wanted to know, and
That's good.
and that's what we did. And that's what we did. So being honest and just allowing people to be honest with themselves as well. A lot of times we fall in love, or we start to like somebody, and we start to impose what we want on them. And that's where the head clashing and the trouble starts, because we're living out our experience. Unfortunately, that's not there. So.
Yeah. And you know what? And it's really important that we have this conversation, because I remember when I was dating, I was always so afraid to be a burden. You know, even though when people think about me, like since I was maybe 15, if I'm sick, I would just tell my mom, just drop me off in the emergency room. Like I've always, taken care of myself. Yeah, like I've always been like that, because this is me personally. When I'm in the hospital, I don't want to talk. I want to just sleep. I want to get as better as I can. So when I have visitors, it's great to see people. But then, when my mom or whoever wants to spend the night, I'm kind of like, all right, go home. Like, you're getting on my nerves because you're being too, do you need a blanket? Is it cold? If I do a little grunt, you're like, is it pain? Should I call the nurse? And I'm just like, I grunt like this, when I'm in pain. So.
That's my coping mechanism. Can I cope, please?
But for me personally, I don't like it. So I've always just gone, and when I was in college, my mom would call me like, I haven't heard from you. I'm like, oh yeah, I've been in the hospital for 2 days. And she's like, you need to stop doing that. I've told you. And I'm like, well, I'm not doing it on purpose, but I just don't want to feel like a burden to anybody. While dating, I never had the conversations like at all. Like I just, if I end up in the hospital and they might be like, oh, what's going on? Then I might have the conversation, but I never did. But then I always find that just always puts me in a situation where I'm just sad and miserable, because if I go in the hospital and it's been too long, we might get in an argument, or he might start feeling like I have to take care of you, or he might start feeling like, you're not available. So I felt like maybe if I would have had the conversation, it would have given him an opportunity to yay or nay. And, you know, by the time I met my husband, I was already in my 30s. And by that time when I was dating, I was like upfront with it. Like, look, I have sickle cell. If you don't know what it is,
Right.
this is what it is. Here are the symptoms. What you gonna do? Like, you
Right.
know, that's how I was. It got to the point where I was just like, I'm too old. I don't have time. And then also, you're from the islands. You know
Yeah.
that in the islands, the African countries, when you get to a certain age, it's like go marry. What are you still doing?
Right.
Go marry. So, and like you, my brother got married before me, had 3 children before I even got married.
Right.
So, and he also had sickle cell. So it was always like, what are you doing? Go get married. And I can't explain my struggle because they expect that it shouldn't interfere with anything, but really it does.
Right.
You
Yeah.
already have issues with just regular dating. And then to bring
Right.
a chronic illness into it. Like I remember I was dating someone and he had a Christmas party that he had been waiting and couldn't wait to show me off and everything. And I got sick. And we
Oh.
got in a big argument and broke up because of that. Like something that I could not help. You understand? Like it wasn't like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't want to do that. I'm doing something else. I was in the hospital, like you dropped me off, to the emergency room, and then you get upset about that. So it's important to be upfront and just let it out. They either going yay or nay. If they are gonna yay, just have the proper education. This doesn't mean you're gonna be taking care of me. I'm not handicapped. I do everything
Right.
just like you. I just have
Right.
limitations. I just have times I need a timeout. So not
Right.
only just letting them know up front, but telling them how, your health is. Yeah, I go to the hospital once every month. I'm there every 2 weeks. Like, it's my life. That's,
Yeah.
can't help it.
Yeah.
So I think you're absolutely right. Like, having that conversation is important. No matter how you feel, maybe shy, whatever, have the conversation. It's time
Yeah.
for us to be able to open up about it. I mean, it's sickle
Yeah.
cell, for crying out loud. Like, it's not AIDS, it's not cancer. Like, I hate to say it, it's not cancer.
Yeah.
It's not. Yes, it is sometimes a death sentence. Yes, sometimes you go through so much, but I always tell people I'm grateful for my little sickle cell.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
say it
It
that
could. It
way.
could be a lot worse.
It could be worse. I could be in the
Yeah.
hospital, can't get up, can't use my arms, my leg. You understand? So
Yeah.
that's why I said I'm grateful for my little sickle cell. Yes, I go through trials and tribulation. Yes, I was one of those people that was very silent about it for a while. But now I see the need. Unfortunately, my niece and nephew have it, and they're still very young. And I see the need to continue
Right.
to have this conversation to help the kids that are coming behind us. Because unfortunately, kids are still being born with it. I hate to say
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
and like my daughter
Yeah.
has the trait. I will always have that conversation with her that, sweetheart,
Yeah.
I know it's too early, you're not dating, but
You
I'm
need to
gonna
know.
start, right. I'm
Yeah.
gonna start as early as I can, when she start
Yeah.
understanding boys to you don't want to play with it. So I think it's important. So brings me to my next question.
Come on now.
You did talk a little bit. You did talk a little bit about it. So I want to know what you know how they asked Sierra what she prayed for her Russell, or Russell what he
Right.
prayed for, right? What did you
Right.
pray, like what did you pray for? What were some of the things that you were looking for in the traits, like your wife, when you were looking for your wife, when you knew she was the one? What were some of the things that you saw and you picked up and said, you
Ooh.
know what, this is it?
Let me get this light on because I know she trust me, she's listening too.
Yes,
But
yes, sis.
no, in all honesty, it was really organic, And one of the things that I prayed for was I prayed for somebody that would understand, and that's all. In all of your getting, and I'm not even trying to get spiritual. In all of your getting, get understanding. And so for me, I just wanted somebody that I know that would understand what I'm going through. And she doesn't have to have a crisis. She doesn't have to have any of that.
Yeah.
but just understand that this is an ordeal at times. This is a heavy burden at times. And so I just wanted to make sure that whoever's in my life was going to be there and rock with me. Because it wasn't like that before. I was in another relationship, because my son came from a prior relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I can recall, and this is a story that I don't even share. I think I see so many people on here that I can't shout all of y'all out. But one of the things that did it for me, and I don't think I shared this story, it was the week of my first marriage.
Mm-hmm.
The week of my first marriage, I had a horrible crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in the hospital for about 5 days or so.
Mm-hmm.
And the wedding was on a Saturday. I went into the hospital right from work. I drove myself. I already knew what it was. I drove myself. And I spent those 5 days, and I hate the attention. So when I'm like you, when I'm in the hospital, I'm okay with being by myself. I don't need you to see me crying and moaning and grunting. Just let me have some dignity, some pride. Let me hold on to something.
Exactly.
But I can honestly tell you, those 5 days were the loneliest days of my entire life. My family was pretty much in New York. I'm in Atlanta at the time. And I didn't even get a visit from my so-called fiance. Even not one time. I know my coworkers was coming to see me, and they're supposed to be coming to the wedding, and they're trying to understand, bro, where's your wife?
Right.
Why is she not here? Like, we're here around the clock. I work in healthcare, so my healthcare family is going to be there to support. And I spent 5 days in the hospital, and I never saw her. Long story short, I went through with the marriage. I had every sign and everything to say, but the reality of it is we were already married.
Right.
This was the ceremony.
Right.
But it gave me a lot of time to pause and think. A lot of time to pause and think. So you want to make sure that when you make a decision, you're not just thinking about yourself. Because in that moment, I thought about my son. I thought about, if this is what it's going to be like for me, I can only imagine what the rest of our lives are going to feel like and be like.
Yeah.
And so that was the biggest wake-up call for me. So I went into my second relationship, my second marriage, I went in with a whole different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I went in a whole different perspective, and I realized I need somebody that's going to be giving. I need somebody that's going to be understanding. I'm a talker. I don't need a talker necessarily. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to be equal.
Right.
And so that was a big thing for me. She fit everything that I needed because I started to become self-aware even back then. And so when you're self-aware and you know how you function and how you operate and how you feel, it just makes it so much easier for that other person. And so that was a big thing for me. So that trait of that nurturer, she was a nurturer. When we were dating, I remember I got the flu real bad. And for me, with sickle cell, infections for us are deadly.
Oh, yeah.
A sinus infection, a cold, like every cold I get turns into pneumonia. It doesn't matter. No matter what I do, there's no way to explain it. I'm getting pneumonia. I'm going to end up in somebody's hospital.
Yeah.
It's that simple. I remember I was sick. We just started talking. We wasn't even officially dating. And I called her. I guess we were supposed to kind of link up, and I told her, I'm not feeling well. And she was like, okay, no problem. Well, get your rest, feel better. Maybe like an hour or so later, she comes in with a custom picnic basket as if she planned it and had soup and all kinds of. I knew then this was going to be my wife. I knew then this was going to be my wife. And
it's
so
the little
things
things.
like that. It's the littlest things.
It's the little things. So,
Littlest things.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's amazing. And
yeah.
sometimes God has a way, of just letting you learn, because
Oh
I
yeah,
feel if you
oh
never
yeah,
went through that first one, you really wouldn't know what you were probably looking for in your
yeah,
second.
yeah, yeah,
And like you said, it's the little things. We're not looking for someone to take care of us. We're not looking for someone to give us sympathy. We're not looking for any of that. Like most sickle cell patients that I met, they work. They have
yeah,
children. They
yeah,
they are active. It's just during that crisis is when they are unable to do things. So all we
yeah.
really need is just somebody understanding. I remember when I went to the sickle cell conference, I don't know if it was like the year before, but I met a young lady there, and we were talking about the difference in care. And she lives in New York, I believe, or New York, New Jersey area. And she was talking about the hospital that she goes to, that if she's not dressed, nicely, her hair done, her makeup on, like
Oh
they're
yeah,
putting her in the hallway, they're not seeing her fast enough, to a certain hospital, but the other hospital is not any good. But the one that does specialize in the sickle cell, she has to be dolled up. And then she was saying,
wow,
I'm
that's
not
crazy.
feeling well. Yeah, like I'm not feeling good. How do I put on makeup and do my hair? So she said that her husband started watching her struggle to do this. And one day he just said, you know what? I'm tired of this mess. And he literally put her hair on, did her face, put her
Wow,
clothes on and everything, and drove her to the hospital. Like, you're taking too long. You're in pain. And this is taking too long. So he literally
right,
went and learned from just watching her and doing it that day. And she says since then, if I say I don't feel well, I'm going to the hospital, he's like, all right, let me get the stuff I need. And, he's making
yeah,
her up and everything. So it's just understanding. It's the little things. We don't want people to feel like anyone with a chronic illness is going to be a burden, or you're going to have to take care of us. That's absolutely not what it is. It is going to be some challenges. There are going to be some times where things are going to be tough. But us having a conversation is what gives you the opportunity from the jump that, okay, I can deal with this or I cannot. And and I want to encourage people that if somebody's having this type of conversation with you, and if it's something you don't understand, ask questions, because I still have people in this day and age asking if you can catch it, if
yeah,
it's sexually transmitted, or
right,
how do you catch it, or do I
right,
need to wear
yeah,
a mask, and stuff like that. So we need to have this conversation. And for anybody, like anybody that ever tells me that they don't understand what sickle cell is, I don't judge them. I'm super excited to
right,
tell them what it is,
yeah,
and what happens with the body, because they just don't know. Nobody has, came in contact with them, or they've never had to have that conversation with anybody. So this is why it's important to have this conversation. Like, if it
yeah,
wasn't for COVID-19, my plan for World Sickle Cell Day was to go out shopping, and everybody I saw to be like, do you know what sickle cell is? And kind of be annoying and accent,
yeah, yeah,
accent
yeah, yeah.
conversation. But I
That's
actually
dope.
get all of it. But I feel like we should have the conversation, and that's really, I'm glad you said that. It's
Yeah,
not, we're just looking for understanding. That's
yeah.
it.
And if you really think about it, I mean, this is important for in relationships, period. I mean, at the end of the day, you don't have to have a chronic illness. At the end of the day, it's about communication. And
Exactly.
I know for men, a lot of the time, it's a pride thing for us, and so we're prideful. It's different. It's different because I think if the shoes was on the other foot, it would be a little more acceptable. It's a lot harder for a man to just with gender roles per se.
Right.
It's
True.
harder for a man to have to say, I can't work. I don't feel good. I can't
That's
keep a job because hey, they let me go again because I'm in the hospital too much. I can't make it past the 90 days because sometimes my health takes precedence. And so it was a lot harder for me. And even now, I mean, we're 10 years in. For me, it's just 1 year done over 10 times. That's what it is. And so a
Yeah.
lot of the times I put my wife in a cycle, and it was a cycle of my own trauma. And so she wasn't the one that left me in the hospital for 5 days. She wasn't the one when I was in a crisis or in pain that couldn't understand that, hey, I can't lift that right now, or I can't do.
Right.
It wasn't her. She wasn't the one that stopped me from going outside to play because the weather was changing, it was too cold, or it was too hot. You know, so a lot of the things that she had to deal with and is still dealing with, it's ego. It's ego. And so in relationships, as long as we're holding on to ego, we're going to struggle. As long as we're holding on to what we believe we are, instead of being who we are, we're going to cause conflict. We're going to bump heads. And so that's one of the things for me that I've been working on so hard in the past couple of years, of getting better at being honest. Like, hey, I'm not my best. I'm not my best right now. I'm not my best. But she knows me by nature that I refuse to be looked upon as less than or unable. So I'm going to do whatever I can to get it done. And so she knows that. But I have to remind myself, you have nothing to prove.
The limit.
This person loves you. You love them. What are you trying to prove? We're in it together. And so it took some time. And so because I was able to learn the hard way, I'm able to teach a lot of the things that we're talking about now to people with sickle cell and chronic illnesses, you know, because the biggest step to healing is acceptance. It's being able to accept that, hey, I'm not disabled, I'm differently able.
Yep.
Once I can repurpose it, then I can repackage it. And that's the key. And you don't have to have a chronic illness for that. You can take that and run with it in life. You can reframe whatever situation, you can repurpose it, and then you can repackage it.
Yeah.
It's yours to do whatever you wish to do with after that.
That's pretty good. That's good. I think you should maybe think about doing a live talking about that, because as I said, I have a brother that has sickle cell, and I see a lot of that and feeling, I don't want to say less than, but feeling some type of way because right now he's unable to work. So I see a lot of that, and you know, hate to say it, especially like in our Black men. I know that they did a study with sickle cell patients with, you know, patients, and they were saying that men are more depressed with sickle cell than women are.
Let me. I'm so glad you said that. Men are more depressed, but I want in the sickle cell population, 35.2% of all sickle cell patients, warriors, are living with depression. And what people fail to realize is depression actually causes physical pain. And so now we enter a never-ending cycle of just consistent, constant pain. Because now I can't even escape my thoughts anymore. Where before it was just my body. But now you're dealing with depression, which also causes pain, and now I can't get out of my head. And so it's difficult, especially for men. I would take there was a time I was on Lexapro, Cymbalta. I would pop those pills. My wife didn't know I was on antidepressants until she's like, what's this pill for? You know, and because to share that for me was weakness. And so I had to get out of myself and understand, actually, me coming clean and being honest with where I am and who I am and what I'm dealing with, that's the ultimate sign of strength. And so I love that. I'm going to be doing this more. Dr. Hard, I see her in here. I see so many of my people. I see so many people in here. Coach the motivator. I mean, everybody. And so all of these, And so what I've been doing is pretty much working behind the scenes, and I've been getting a lot of uh, quite a few clients, believe it or not, that I've been able to take on one-on-one and help them understand the AHA principle, which is Oprah Winfrey made the term famous when she said on one of her shows she had an aha moment. And I kind of had the same epiphany. I had an aha moment. And the aha
Yep.
moment for me became a principle. And that AHA is an acronym for accept, adjust, heal, and attack. And before you can heal, you have to first accept whatever you're dealing with. From there, once you can accept it, then you have to understand there's going to be a new way of having to navigate, because I don't believe in limitations. I like to call them obstacles and barriers, because obstacles can be overcome. Barriers, you can work around barriers or even within barriers and
Right.
still be effective. So once you accept and you adjust, now you put yourself in the best place to heal. And once you can heal, now you can really attack life. And once you attack life, you feel so guilty of how good your life is. And I'm not talking about monetary. You feel so guilty of how good you have it, you can't help but want to share it and serve. And so the AHA principle is real. I am going to be teaching that. That's something that I've already started with a few clients, and we're actually turning it into a course.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. And my life story, you guys will be able to pre-order my book July 28th. It's called Survival of the Illest. Now that's a play from the Mobb Deep song. And so Survival of the Illest basically just means, listen, the illnesses and everything that I've been through, I survived. And knowing that I survived has given me the confidence to go forward and actually live a life that I can thrive in. And so that's what it's about. That's what it's about. I'm sorry. I talk a lot. I'm sorry. I talk a lot.
No. I mean, you know what? I came on here wanting to, have a conversation, but I'm actually learning a lot, believe it or not. Like,
Yeah.
I call myself an advocate, but I won't say that I'm at that moment. Like, I'm still trying
Yeah.
to learn myself and,
Yeah.
not so learn my limits, but I'm still trying to learn how to not let things get to me, how to not let
Yeah.
situation get to me, how to not be so depressed about my situation sometimes, because at one point before I had my daughter, I had to, my doctor actually sent me to see a therapist. And for so long, I was like, I don't need a therapist. Like, what? Yeah, I'm mad, I'm upset, I'm angry. Like, who's not?
Yeah.
And he's like, it's not healthy for you. And I'm like, why is being angry not healthy for me? And, as you're saying, it ties into your health. And,
Yeah.
he just kept telling me, I was like, fine, I'm going to go see this therapist. And I didn't realize how much I needed it till I sat in her couch and I was talking to her and I just started bawling. And I was like, where did all this come from? So it's important, and as Black people, sometimes we're so scared and afraid to, seek help, talk to a therapist, take medication,
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
diagnosed. But at the end of the day, it helps us. It helps with our sanity. So, when I always tell you on Instagram that, you're going to have to mentor me, like I wasn't joking. Like I'm trying to get, in the headspace that you are. And, and then especially now, having my daughter, like when she first came, it was like one of the happiest moments in my life. Like I felt like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, now I have
I
done
can
something.
imagine. Yeah.
Like I felt like, okay, well, if I left the world tomorrow, I'm good. Like, like it was
Right.
that kind of
Right.
feeling. But still doesn't mean that I didn't go through depression. Like I went through not just postpartum, like I went through really bad depression because I felt bad. Like I hadn't been able to work. I couldn't work. All the burden is being put on my husband. Then I have this child. If I'm going to the day hospital, I'm always having to sticker with this person, that person.
Yeah.
you know, as
Yeah.
she gets older, like, what is she gonna feel about me? That even, you know, when I'm home, people are like, oh, you're spoiling her. And I'm just like, no, I'm just, you know, even my husband now is like, oh, you held her too much. Now she doesn't want to be put down. But I'm like, no, like, there are going to be moments where I'm going to be away. I'm going to have to go to the hospital for weeks and I'm not going to be able to hold her like I want to. So I
Right.
went through a lot of that and I still go through that. But it's important that we be in a good headspace, not just for ourselves, but also for our partners, for our relationships. You know,
Yeah.
I notice at
Yeah.
times when I'm in the mood, I might, you know, take it out on my husband and he has no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Or, you know, my brother might call and I'm like, what? And he's like, you know, hey, relax. I'm just checking on you to see how you're feeling. So it's like you take it out and then you can also ruin relationship that way, you
Right.
know, where people feel like, oh, she's not feeling well, I better stay away, or, you know, what mood is she gonna be in today? So I think it's important, you know, even people that feel like I'm there, I'm perfect, I'm so zen, you know, I do yoga, you know,
Yeah.
like I'm even those people still need to continue on their spiritual journey or their, I feel like it's so much more important. If you are no good to yourself, you could be no good to anybody
No good to
else.
anybody else. Exactly. Exactly. And
So
it's funny,
that,
you talk about mentorship. I look at you. You're actually at the hospital doing meetups, educating people. So you were doing that before I started to get active. For real, for real. And so, we look to each other because you know what, we're all branches on the same tree.
hmm
And that's just the reality of it. We all need each other and we're all connected. In one way or another, we're all connected. Be it
right.
you're a sickle cell warrior or not, I need you. My big brother, Life Speaks Life, is on here. I love him to death. This brother embraced me in a way that I can't even explain, and he didn't just embrace me and take me in, but he literally said, you have something here.
hmm
You have your own lane. You're special. You're unique. And even in all of that, he told me, and I'm rocking with you, but I need you to not do this. No, I won't tell you what this is, but he said, I'm going to need you not to do this, not to do that. And so what's so amazing about that is it just inspired me and motivated me to push even harder. And so us getting on this call, it just set another fire underneath me,
Yep. Yep.
and I feel like, we have people on here, and I just want to make sure that not only that our voices are heard, but that we're comfortable in our own skin,
Yeah.
where we're confident enough to let our voices be heard instead of
Yep.
sitting around and waiting.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know, I don't need permission to speak. I don't need permission to tell you my truth. Hey, listen or don't listen.
You're
But the
exactly
world, the
right.
world needs to know. The world needs to know because there's a little boy or a little girl growing up right now, and Prodigy from Mobb Deep was he was my idol. This was
Yes.
somebody that had sickle cell and went on and toured the world, had gold records and platinum records and did his thing. You have T-Boz from TLC, who I love to death. I don't know, but to me, I know them all because
Yeah.
I've watched them. I've
Yep.
watched them overcome, and overcome doesn't mean like we lost Prodigy, but it doesn't mean he
Yes.
didn't overcome because he lived through me. Because watching him helped normalize sickle cell for me.
Yep.
It helped me realize, like, I can get out here and work. I can get out here and pursue my dreams and live the life that I deserve. Many of us with illnesses, we live beneath our divine privilege because we don't know any better, because we don't have enough examples telling people, like, listen, you can do this. You can do
Yeah.
this. You can
Yeah.
be the best. You don't have to play at half pace. No, you can play all out. Now all out for you may be different than somebody else's all
Yeah.
out.
Yep.
But you define your all out and you go all out.
Yep.
Don't take your foot off the gas. Just go for it. People are going to talk anyway, whether you're doing the right thing or whether you're doing the wrong thing or whether you do nothing at all, they're going to talk. So I want to
Yeah.
make sure I give people something to talk about.
To talk about. Yep.
Yeah, I
That's
want to give
so
them something to
true.
talk about, you know.
That is
And
so
so,
true.
I'm
And
proud of you. What I not to,
thank
what I
you.
want to do, I want to flip it because I want people to hear your story as well, but I also need everyone that's on here to go follow my sister at Stickle But Not Broken because she's doing
Oh,
amazing
thank you
work
guys.
and she needs support the same way I was hitting y'all in the DMs and saying like, hey, y'all need to jump on. This is going to be good. Listen, this work is not a work that you get a lot of credit for.
No.
This advocacy is not something that you get paid for. You know, so the reality of it is our work is in seeing the transformation in others, to see the healing in others, the
Yeah.
acceptance in others. And so that's what we live
Yes.
for. That's what we live for. So help us, support us to continue to do the work. Continue to do the
Yes.
work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's so funny that you said that, I've been doing advocate work. As I said, I'm not perfect. That actually started at a place of anger. I was
Wow.
I left I think it was the emergency room of the hospital one day. And, it was I've had so many different situations in the hospital because I don't look sick. I don't cry. I don't, manipulate I'm just me. I'm
Yeah.
listening to music. I'm humming. I'm rocking back and forth. That's what gives me comfort. I don't want to talk to anybody. But then because of that, they feel, oh, well, you look fine. You got on makeup or
Yeah.
whatever, but I'm just coming from work. Like, you don't even bother to ask
Yeah.
me the backstory. But,
Right.
so I went to the ER one day and a doctor told me that he was doing me a favor by giving me pain medication. And I was angry. I was so upset that talking on the phone to my brother, he was just like, calm down. Like, I was just rattling off. I'm going to wait for him in the parking lot. Like, this is it. I'm so tired of people disrespecting me. I work hard. I have my own, like, I work hard. I go to work every day. Like, I work hard. Nothing against anyone that had Medicaid. At the time I didn't have Medicaid, I was like, I am paying for my insurance
Right.
and a lot
Right.
of money, to buy up. Like, how dare you speak to me in that manner when I know I'm going to get a bill, one from you, one from the facility, one from the ER.
And
So
for every
it
vial
pissed
that they
me
use
off.
to draw blood, every syringe, they charge you,
Thank
even the
you.
soap they give you in the
Everything,
room,
every
you get charged
tissue,
for.
every water you drink. Yeah, you getting a bill, So I was
Right.
like, how dare you speak to me in that manner? And I just came home and I was like, damn it, I'm sickle but not broken. This
Yeah.
is the last time that
That's
anybody
right.
is going to disrespect anybody with sickle cell or, whatever the case is. So that is why I try to educate myself on not just sickle cell, but the laws that we have that
Yeah.
protect us, disability laws and stuff like that can keep you going. Because a lot of time people feel that they can't succeed or they can't be what they want to be because they have sickle cell, or they run into a situation. That's another one that we're going to talk about: employment and having a chronic
Oh, yeah.
illness.
Oh, yeah.
Right, where they run into a situation with
Oh,
their
yeah.
employer. Yeah, and then it's just like people just disrespect you any kind of way. And you're just like, wait, I'm always on time and at work. At, I haven't been out since I've been hired. I had to go in this hospital this one time for 2 weeks, and it's a problem. So I taught myself on all the laws that govern disability and everything else, that it's going to protect us to live a normal of a life as we can. So
That's right.
that's how I got started. It really came from a place of anger. Like I tell people, I'm like, I don't know if I should be proud of what I've done, but I don't really like to talk about, why I all of a sudden decided to be an advocate for sickle cell.
Yeah.
Like it came from a place of anger and frustration. I was tired. And the thing that sucks the most is that most of the patients that I know, they work hard. Like they work hard.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
work hard. That
Yeah.
nobody should be having anything negative to say about them. They work hard. I see them bust their butt. I see some people working 2 jobs. I see some people in school, kids,
That's
and
right.
going work full
That's right.
time. Like, I
That's right.
see them struggling just like anybody else on this planet. And then you go into the hospital the one time that you need help and you're disrespected and called a drug addict and,
Oh,
you know, whatever the
oh
case
yeah.
is. So it just, which, and as I said, God always put you in a situation for ready for blood. I was like, this is it. I was about to go gangster. And my brother's like, so after that, what are you gonna do?
Then what?
And then I
Then
was just
what?
like, you know what? Yeah, you know. And then
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? You're right. I'm sickle but not broken. And me and
That's
him
right.
sat down that night, and
And
we
y'all
came
put
up
it
with
together.
what we're gonna do.
But you know what's so crazy about that? Because most change comes from 100% dissatisfaction. And it's not until you're 100% dissatisfied with something that a lot of times you feel moved enough into action. So
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut
it's
you
about to
off.
cut us
Right?
off now.
Is it telling you reminder?
Yep, we about to cut off. It's up to everybody. I'm cool with staying on it. Y'all cool with it? If we're going to get everybody to
Is
jump
that
back on, we can jump back on for a few more minutes.
is everybody okay with us jumping back on? We're both okay with it.
We okay
Sorry,
with it if y'all going to come back.
yeah, we're not verified. We can only do an hour. We're so
Yeah,
sorry.
it's all good. So let's hop off, everybody. Once y'all come back and join us, we can finish the conversation. We won't hold you guys much longer. Let's
No, we
finish the
won't.
conversation. Maybe wrap it up another 10, 15 minutes, and then we're out of here.
Yep. We're
All
going. I'm
right.
gonna log off and I'm gonna come back in.
All right, y'all. Thank you. I see all of y'all. I'm going to show y'all some love later.
Thank
Appreciate
y'all.
y'all.
Thank
Come back.
you.
Come back. Come back.